I had never cooked a meal from scratch before, but I wanted to give it a try. I found a recipe online and gathered all the necessary ingredients. I started by chopping the vegetables, making sure to cut them into small, even pieces. Then, I heated up the stove and put a pan on it. I added oil and let it heat up before adding the vegetables. I stirred them occasionally to make sure they cooked evenly. Once they were tender, I added the other ingredients, following the recipe instructions. I continued to stir and cook everything until it was fully cooked. It was a new experience for me, but I felt proud of myself for successfully cooking a meal from scratch.
I went to the supermarket to buy groceries. I found different kinds of fruits like apples, bananas, and oranges. They were fresh and looked delicious. In the vegetable section, I saw carrots, tomatoes, and lettuce. They were all colorful and looked very healthy. I also bought some dairy products like milk, cheese, and yogurt. In the snacks aisle, there were chips, cookies, and chocolates. I couldn't resist buying some for a treat. Overall, I had a good shopping experience and got everything I needed for the week.
I went to a museum with my friends. We walked around and saw many different artworks. There were paintings on the walls and sculptures displayed on pedestals. The museum had artworks from famous artists from different periods of time. We learned about different styles of art and the history behind them. It was interesting to see how art has evolved over the years. We took our time to appreciate each artwork and read the descriptions next to them. The museum was a quiet and peaceful place, perfect for enjoying art. We really enjoyed our visit and had a great time learning about the history of art.
I spent the day cleaning my house. I started by vacuuming all the floors in every room. Then, I moved on to dusting the furniture, making sure to wipe away any dirt or dust that had accumulated. After that, I tackled the laundry. I sorted the clothes into different piles, lights, darks, and delicates, before loading them into the washing machine. I carefully measured out the detergent and started the cycle. While the laundry was washing, I went back to the living room and started tidying up. I picked up any stray items and organized them neatly. Finally, I went back to the laundry room and transferred the clothes to the dryer. Once everything was dry, I folded the clothes and put them away in their respective drawers. It was a long day of cleaning, but it feels so rewarding to have a clean and tidy house.
I went for a hike in the mountains. The trail was steep and challenging, but I persevered. As I made my way up, I was surrounded by tall trees and the sound of chirping birds. The cool breeze brushed against my face, providing a refreshing feeling. Along the way, I came across a breathtaking waterfall, with water gushing down into a crystal-clear pool. I stopped to take in the beauty of nature and snapped a few pictures to remember the moment. As I continued my hike, I encountered small animals scurrying away into the bushes. The views from the top were absolutely stunning, with mountains stretching as far as the eye could see. I felt a sense of accomplishment and peacefulness being in the midst of such natural beauty.
I decided to organize a party for my friends. I prepared a list of people I wanted to invite and sent out invitations to them. I chose a venue for the party and made sure it was suitable for the occasion. Then, I ordered food for the event, making sure to select a variety of options to cater to different preferences. Additionally, I took the time to decorate the venue, making it visually appealing and festive. Overall, my goal was to create a welcoming and enjoyable atmosphere for everyone attending the party.
I recently went shopping for new clothes. I walked into the store and started browsing through the racks. There were so many different outfits to choose from. I decided to try on a few of them to see how they looked on me. After trying on several outfits, I finally found a few that I really liked. They fit me well and looked great. I then took my chosen clothes to the counter to pay. The cashier scanned each item and told me the total amount. I handed over the money and received a receipt. It was a successful shopping trip and I was excited to wear my new clothes.
I wanted to give my room a fresh look, so I decided to decorate it. First, I painted the walls a vibrant shade of blue. It took me some time to finish, but I was proud of the final result. Then, I went shopping for new furniture. I found a comfortable armchair and a stylish desk that matched my room's color scheme perfectly. I also added some decorative items, such as colorful throw pillows and a modern lamp. These small touches added charm and personality to my room. I am really happy with the new look of my freshly decorated room.
I recently decided to bake some cookies for my friends. First, I gathered all the necessary ingredients such as flour, sugar, butter, vanilla extract, and chocolate chips. I carefully measured out the correct amounts and mixed them together in a large bowl. Next, I rolled the dough into small balls using my hands and placed them onto a baking tray. I preheated the oven to the desired temperature and then placed the tray inside. I set the timer and waited patiently for the cookies to bake. Finally, once they were golden brown and smelled delicious, I took them out of the oven and let them cool on a wire rack.
I decided to go for a bike ride one day and chose to ride in the park. It was a sunny day, and the park was bustling with people. I followed the path that led me through the greenery, enjoying the fresh air and the sound of birds chirping. As I pedaled along, I felt a gentle breeze on my face, which made the ride even more enjoyable. Along the way, I came across a serene pond where ducks were leisurely swimming. It was a peaceful sight, and I took a moment to admire their graceful movements. After taking in the scenery, I continued my ride, feeling energized and happy to be surrounded by nature.
I decided to go for a swim at the local pool. I found a changing room and put on my swimsuit. The pool was not crowded, so I jumped into the water. I started swimming, doing laps back and forth. The water was cool and refreshing. I enjoyed the feeling of the water against my skin as I moved through it. I continued swimming for a while, focusing on my technique and trying to swim smoothly. It was a great way to exercise and relax at the same time. Eventually, I decided to take a break and sat by the side of the pool for a few minutes. After resting, I got back in the water for a few more laps before calling it a day. It was a wonderful experience and I look forward to going swimming again soon.
I went to a bookstore and saw a wide variety of books. There were books in different genres such as fiction, nonfiction, mystery, and romance. I looked at the covers and read the summaries on the back to decide which book I wanted to buy. After browsing for a while, I finally chose a novel that caught my attention. I took it to the cashier and paid for it. Then, I went back home and started reading the novel. I sat comfortably on my couch and immersed myself in the story. I enjoyed reading the book and couldn't wait to see what would happen next.
I recently decided to try something new and joined a yoga class. It was a beginner-level class, perfect for someone like me who had never done yoga before. The class took place in a bright and peaceful studio. I laid out my mat and got ready to start. The instructor began by leading us through some gentle stretching exercises to warm up our bodies. We stretched our arms, legs, and backs, reaching as far as we could without causing any discomfort. After the warm-up, the instructor started guiding us through different yoga poses. We all followed along, trying our best to mimic her movements. Some poses were easier than others, but I did my best to maintain good form and balance. Throughout the class, the instructor reminded us to focus on our breath and practice deep breathing. We were encouraged to take slow, deep breaths in and out, helping us relax and find our center. As the class came to a close, we ended with a few minutes of relaxation and meditation. I left the class feeling refreshed and energized, grateful for the opportunity to try something new and take care of my body and mind.
I decided to have a barbecue in the comfort of my own backyard. It was a sunny day with a gentle breeze. I prepared the grill and gathered all the necessary ingredients for the meal. I marinated the meat and chopped the vegetables into bite-sized pieces. As the grill warmed up, the enticing smell of the food began to fill the air. I carefully placed the meat on the grill, making sure it was evenly spread out. The sizzling sound of the meat cooking made my mouth water. While the meat cooked, I chatted and laughed with my friends who had arrived. The aroma of the grilled food intensified, creating a pleasant atmosphere. Once the meat was cooked to perfection, I placed the juicy pieces on a large platter. We all sat down at the outdoor table, eagerly grabbing our plates and helping ourselves to the delicious spread of grilled meat and vegetables. The flavors were mouth-watering and the food was cooked just right. We enjoyed the meal, exchanging stories and jokes, surrounded by the joyful sounds of laughter and clinking plates. It was a memorable and enjoyable experience, being able to share such a delicious meal with my friends in the relaxing ambiance of my backyard.
I recently did my laundry. I started by sorting my clothes into different piles based on their colors and fabrics. Next, I loaded the clothes into the washing machine, making sure not to overload it. I added detergent and set the appropriate washing cycle. Once the cycle was complete, I carefully removed the clothes from the machine. Some items needed to be air-dried, so I hung them on a clothesline outside. Others could be put in the dryer, so I transferred them to the dryer and set the correct drying setting. Finally, I folded and put away all the clean clothes in their respective places.
I went camping with my friends. We found a suitable spot to set up our tents. It was a beautiful location surrounded by trees and near a river. We carefully pitched the tents, making sure they were stable and secure. Once our campsite was set up, we gathered firewood to build a bonfire. The crackling flames provided warmth and created a cozy atmosphere. We sat around the fire, chatting and sharing stories. To make the experience even more enjoyable, we decided to roast marshmallows. We skewered the marshmallows on sticks and held them over the fire until they turned golden brown and gooey. It was a fun and delicious treat. We spent the rest of the night stargazing and enjoying the peacefulness of nature.
I decided to visit a new park in my city recently. It was a sunny day and the park was filled with greenery. I started by walking along the wide trails that led me through the park. The trees provided shade, making the walk enjoyable. As I continued, I stumbled upon a breathtaking waterfall. The water cascaded down gracefully, creating a soothing sound. It was truly a sight to behold. I couldn't resist capturing the moment, so I took out my phone and snapped some pictures of the waterfall. It was a lovely experience to explore this new park and witness such natural beauty.
I recently went to the zoo with my family. It was a fun day out for all of us. We saw a wide variety of animals, including lions, elephants, giraffes, and monkeys. The zoo had a schedule of feeding shows, and we were lucky enough to catch a few of them. It was fascinating to watch the zookeepers interact with the animals and see how they were fed. After exploring the different exhibits, we decided to take a ride on the train that goes around the zoo. It was a great way to see everything from a different perspective. Overall, it was a great experience and a perfect outing for the whole family.
I recently decided to attend a language class to learn a new language. During the class, I had the opportunity to listen to the teacher as they explained new vocabulary and grammar rules. We were encouraged to practice speaking with our classmates, which helped us develop our language skills. It was interesting to hear the different accents and pronunciations from my classmates, and it made the learning experience more engaging. Overall, attending the language class was a great way to immerse myself in the new language and improve my communication abilities.
I decided to start a vegetable garden in my backyard. I cleared the area by removing any plants and weeds that were already there. Once it was cleared, I began planting seeds for different vegetables such as tomatoes, peppers, and carrots. I made sure to space out the seeds so that each plant would have enough room to grow. After planting the seeds, I watered the garden regularly to keep the soil moist. I also made sure to remove any weeds that started to grow around the plants to prevent them from taking away nutrients. I am excited to see how my garden will grow and to eventually harvest the vegetables to enjoy in my meals.
I recently visited an art exhibition at a gallery. It was a fascinating experience. As I walked through the gallery, I came across various paintings and sculptures. Each artwork had its own unique style and meaning. I spent a considerable amount of time observing and appreciating the intricate details and vibrant colors of the paintings. Some of the sculptures intrigued me with their creative designs and different textures. The atmosphere was filled with creativity and artistic expression. It was a wonderful opportunity to immerse myself in the world of art and appreciate the skills and talents of the artists.
I woke up early in the morning and decided to go for a run. I put on my running shoes and headed towards the park. As I reached the park, I started with a warm-up session to prepare my body for the workout. Then, I set a comfortable pace for myself and began my run. The air felt fresh and the surroundings were peaceful. I could hear the sound of my footsteps and the rhythmic beating of my heart. It felt invigorating to be out in nature, surrounded by trees and greenery. I continued running, enjoying the feeling of my muscles working and my heart pumping. It was a great way to start my day and stay fit.
I decided to learn how to sew using a sewing machine. It seemed like a fun and useful skill to have. I started by practicing simple stitches on scrap fabric, like straight stitches and zigzag stitches. As I gained more confidence, I began to work on small projects, such as sewing buttons onto shirts and hemming pants. With each project, my skills improved and I became more comfortable using the sewing machine. Sewing has become a hobby that allows me to be creative and make practical items for myself and others.
I went to a sports game with my friends. We arrived at the stadium and found our seats. The crowd was excited and there was a lot of energy in the air. As the game started, we cheered loudly for our team. We sang chants and waved our hands to show our support. Throughout the game, we clapped and shouted whenever our team scored a goal or made a good play. The atmosphere was electric. Finally, after an intense match, our team emerged victorious. We jumped up and down, hugged each other, and celebrated their win. It was a fantastic experience to be a part of the cheering crowd and to witness our team's success.
I decided to change up my hairstyle today. I found a tutorial online and decided to give it a try. I followed the step-by-step instructions carefully and used a curling iron to create soft waves in my hair. It was a bit challenging at first, but with practice, I managed to curl all my hair evenly. Once the curls were set, I used a brush to gently comb through them and create a more natural look. It was so exciting to see the transformation in the mirror. My hair looked completely different from what I was used to. I felt confident and stylish with my new hairstyle. It was a fun experiment, and I'm glad I decided to try something new.
I recently decided to start a journal to jot down my thoughts and experiences. To get started, I purchased a simple notebook from a stationery store. I also bought a pen, specifically one with black ink. Every day, I took a few minutes to sit down and write about what happened during my day. I made sure to include even the smallest details, like what I ate for breakfast or the weather outside. I found it therapeutic to write down my thoughts and feelings, and it helped me reflect on my day. Writing in my journal has become a daily routine that I look forward to.
I went to a theme park recently. It was a fun and exciting day for me. The first thing I did was ride the roller coasters. They were fast and made my heart beat really fast. After that, I played some games to win prizes. It was challenging, but I had a lot of fun trying to hit targets and toss rings onto bottles. I even won a stuffed bear. I also made sure to try some of the delicious snacks at the park. I had a giant pretzel and some cotton candy. They were so tasty. Overall, it was a great day at the theme park, filled with thrilling rides, fun games, and yummy treats.
I made a scrapbook with my vacation photos. I cut pictures, used stickers, and wrote captions. I enjoyed organizing the pictures in the scrapbook. I carefully selected the photos that I wanted to include. I used a pair of scissors to cut out the pictures from the printed photos. I made sure to leave a border around each picture. I also used different kinds of stickers to decorate the pages. There were colorful stickers of flowers, hearts, and stars. I placed the stickers in different spots on the pages to make them look nice. After that, I wrote captions for each picture. I used different colored pens to write the captions, so they would stand out. I wrote about where and when the photo was taken. The scrapbook turned out to be a great way to preserve my vacation memories.
I decided to try my hand at a DIY project, so I took on the task of making a bookshelf. First, I measured the dimensions I wanted for the bookshelf and gathered all the necessary tools and materials. Then, I carefully cut the pieces of wood according to the measurements. Once all the pieces were cut, I began assembling them by following the instructions I found online. It took some time and effort, but eventually, I was able to put all the pieces together and create a sturdy bookshelf. I'm proud of my accomplishment and now have a functional piece of furniture in my home.
I decided to take a photography class to enhance my skills in capturing beautiful images. Throughout the course, I learned about the importance of lighting and how it can greatly impact the outcome of a photograph. I also gained knowledge on composition techniques, which helped me to arrange elements within the frame in a visually appealing way. One of the highlights of the class was going on field trips, where we had the opportunity to apply what we learned in real-life scenarios. These practical exercises allowed me to practice different photography techniques and experiment with various subjects. Overall, the photography class was a valuable experience that helped me develop my skills and grow as a photographer.
I recently went to a science museum. As soon as I entered, I was amazed by the variety of exhibits. There were so many things to explore and discover. I was able to interact with many hands-on exhibits, which allowed me to learn through direct experience. My favorite exhibit was the one where I could build my own model of an erupting volcano. It was really fascinating to see the lava flow and understand how it happens in real life. Additionally, I watched demonstrations where experts explained scientific concepts in a fun and engaging way. I learned about the laws of physics, the wonders of chemistry, and the mysteries of space. It was an incredible opportunity to expand my knowledge and satisfy my curiosity about the world around me. I left the Science Museum feeling inspired and eager to learn more about science.
I spent the afternoon gardening in my backyard. I dug holes in the soil and gently placed flower and vegetable seeds inside. Carefully, I covered them with soil and patted it down to make sure they were secure. I grabbed my watering can and carefully poured water onto the soil, making sure each plant got enough moisture. It was satisfying to see the tiny seeds disappear under the soil, knowing that they would soon sprout into beautiful plants. As I continued watering, I admired the green leaves and vibrant colors of the flowers already in full bloom. The sunlight beamed down, providing the perfect environment for my garden to thrive. Gardening in my backyard was a peaceful and enjoyable activity that allowed me to connect with nature and witness the beauty of plant growth.
Over the weekend, I dedicated my time to creating a scrapbook filled with my cherished memories. I carefully selected and printed out various photos that held significant meaning to me. Alongside these photographs, I also utilized vibrant and eye-catching paper, which I then cut into various shapes and sizes. With the help of glue, I pieced everything together, resulting in a visually appealing and heartfelt scrapbook. This activity holds great importance, as it allows me to safeguard and treasure special moments in my life.
I went on a hike with my family in a beautiful forest. We walked along the dirt trails, enjoying the fresh air and peaceful atmosphere. The forest was filled with tall trees that towered above us, providing shade from the sun. As we continued our hike, we came across various types of birds flying from tree to tree, their cheerful songs filling the air. We also spotted squirrels running and playing among the branches, their quick movements catching our attention. It was a wonderful experience being surrounded by nature and taking in the sights and sounds of the forest.
Last weekend, my family and I decided to have a bonfire in our backyard. We collected a pile of wood to use for the fire and carefully built a fire pit. Once we had everything set up, we started the fire and watched as the flames grew. The crackling sound of the fire and the warmth it emitted made the atmosphere feel cozy. We had brought out a bag of marshmallows and skewers to roast over the fire. As the marshmallows turned golden brown, we carefully removed them from the skewers and enjoyed their gooey goodness. The sky above us was clear, and we could see the stars twinkling. It was a peaceful and enjoyable evening spent together as a family.
I visited a museum with my classmates. We saw ancient artifacts, paintings, and sculptures. The museum had a variety of interesting exhibits that showcased different periods of history. I learned about the culture and traditions of people from long ago through the artifacts they left behind. The paintings were beautiful and depicted scenes from different eras. The sculptures were also impressive, with intricate details and unique shapes. It was a fascinating and educational trip that allowed me to appreciate the art and history of our ancestors.
Today, I decided to clean my house. First, I took out the vacuum cleaner and started vacuuming all the floors in every room. I made sure to clean the carpets and the hard floors. After that, I grabbed a cloth and cleaned the windows to remove any dirt or smudges. It was important to me that the windows looked sparkling clean. Next, I took a duster and went around the house, dusting all the furniture and shelves. I wanted to make sure that there was no dust collecting on any surfaces. After a few hours of hard work, I finally finished cleaning. Now, my house looks neat and well organized. I feel satisfied knowing that everything is clean and in its proper place.
I watched a documentary about wildlife conservation. The documentary talked about the efforts to protect endangered species and their habitats. It showed how scientists and conservationists are working together to save animals like elephants, tigers, and pandas. They talked about the challenges they face, like poaching and deforestation. The documentary also showed how people can help, like by supporting organizations that work to protect wildlife. It was really interesting to learn about all the different ways people are trying to save animals and their homes.
I recently decided to give my bedroom a makeover. First, I picked out a new paint color for the walls. I wanted something bright and cheerful, so I chose a light blue shade. Next, I went shopping for new curtains and bedding to match the new color scheme. I found some beautiful curtains in a floral pattern and a cozy comforter in a complementary shade of blue. Finally, I rearranged the furniture in the room to create a more open and spacious feel. I moved the bed to a different wall and added a comfy reading chair in the corner. Now, my bedroom has a fresh and inviting look that I love coming home to.
I woke up early in the morning and decided to go to the beach to watch the sunrise. When I arrived, I noticed that the sky was still dark, but there was a hint of light on the horizon. As I stood there, the sky started to change colors. It first turned a pale pink, then gradually became brighter and more vibrant. Soon, the whole sky was filled with shades of pink and orange. It was a beautiful sight to behold. And then, I saw the sun slowly coming up from behind the horizon. Its golden rays illuminated everything around me. The view was absolutely breathtaking.
I decided to try a new workout routine at the gym. The exercises involved a variety of movements such as lifting weights, using resistance bands, and doing cardio exercises. The workout was challenging but effective in targeting different muscle groups. I started with a warm-up to get my body ready for the intense workout. Then, I moved on to the main exercises, which included squats, push-ups, and lunges. The trainer provided clear instructions and demonstrated the correct form for each exercise. Throughout the session, I could feel my muscles working and my heart rate increasing. I pushed myself to complete each set and gave my best effort. As the workout progressed, I began to feel more energized and motivated. By the end, I was sweaty and tired, but also felt a sense of accomplishment. I knew that I had challenged myself and made progress towards my fitness goals. Overall, trying this new workout routine was a positive experience, and I look forward to incorporating it into my regular exercise routine.
I recently decided to attend a cooking class in order to expand my repertoire of recipes and improve my culinary skills. The class was led by an experienced chef who was knowledgeable and passionate about cooking. During the class, the chef taught us various techniques and shared tips on how to prepare a gourmet meal from scratch. We learned how to select and prepare fresh ingredients, as well as the proper way to handle kitchen tools and equipment. Throughout the class, we followed step-by-step instructions and had the opportunity to ask questions when we needed clarification. The best part of the class was getting to taste and enjoy the delicious meal we had prepared together. It was a rewarding and educational experience that has inspired me to continue exploring the world of cooking.
I recently had the opportunity to visit a historical site, and it was a truly fascinating experience. As I entered the site, I was immediately struck by the sense of history that surrounded me. The old building stood tall, showcasing the architectural style of the past. I couldn't help but feel a sense of awe as I walked through these structures, imagining the people who had once inhabited them. I was particularly fascinated by the plaques that were strategically placed throughout the site, providing valuable information about its history. These plaques allowed me to gain a deeper understanding of the significance and importance of the site. It was like taking a step back in time and getting a glimpse into the lives of those who came before us. Overall, my visit to this historical site was both educational and captivating. It was a unique opportunity to learn about the past and appreciate the rich history that continues to shape our present.
I decided to go for a swim at the nearby pool. As I entered the pool area, I felt a refreshing breeze and saw the sparkling water. I jumped in and immediately felt the coolness on my skin. I started practicing different swimming strokes, like freestyle and breaststroke. It was a great workout for my body, and I could feel my muscles working and my heart rate increasing. The pool was not too crowded, so I had enough space to swim comfortably. I enjoyed the rhythmic movements of my arms and legs as I glided through the water. After a few laps, I took a short break by resting on the edge of the pool. I noticed other people swimming and having fun with their friends. The atmosphere was lively and energetic. Feeling recharged, I dove back into the water and continued swimming. Time flew by quickly, and before I knew it, it was time to leave. Reluctantly, I got out of the pool, feeling invigorated and satisfied with my swim.
I visited an art exhibition at a gallery. The gallery displayed various artworks like paintings, sculptures, and photographs. The artists who made these artworks were very talented and creative. I looked closely at the paintings and admired the brushstrokes and colors used. Some paintings depicted scenes from nature, while others were more abstract. The sculptures were made from different materials like wood, metal, and stone. They were of different shapes and sizes, and some were even interactive. The photographs captured moments in time and were displayed in frames on the walls. The art exhibition was visually stunning and I enjoyed exploring the different artworks.
I decided to make some homemade cookies from scratch. First, I gathered all the ingredients needed. I carefully measured each ingredient, making sure to follow the recipe exactly. Next, I mixed all the ingredients together to create the dough. The dough started to come together nicely, and it had a smooth texture. Once the dough was ready, I shaped it into small balls and placed them on a baking sheet. I preheated the oven and then popped in the cookies to bake. As they baked, a wonderful aroma filled the house, making it smell absolutely delicious. After the allotted time, I took the cookies out of the oven and let them cool. They turned out perfect, golden brown and crispy around the edges. I couldn't resist taking a bite, and they tasted absolutely amazing.
I recently decided to try a new hobby, so I began learning how to knit. Through various online tutorials and guides, I discovered different stitches and techniques that allowed me to create beautiful scarves and hats. Not only did I find knitting to be a relaxing and meditative activity, but it also proved to be quite productive. I enjoyed watching my creations gradually take shape as I worked with the soft yarn and delicate needles. Overall, trying out knitting as a new hobby has been a rewarding experience and a great way to spend my free time.
I recently had the opportunity to visit an art museum and it was a truly inspiring experience. As I walked through the museum, I came across numerous famous paintings and sculptures that captivated my attention. Each artwork was unique in its own way, showcasing the immense talent and creativity of the artists. It was fascinating to see the different art movements represented, ranging from Impressionism to Surrealism. I took my time to admire each piece, carefully studying the brushstrokes and details. The museum provided informative descriptions alongside each artwork, helping me to better understand the historical and cultural context behind them. Overall, visiting the art museum was a wonderful opportunity to immerse myself in the world of art and broaden my appreciation for the creative process.
I decided to try a new restaurant in town. The moment I walked in, I immediately noticed the cozy ambiance. The place had a warm and inviting atmosphere, which made me excited to try their food. I looked through the menu and found a dish that sounded delicious. I decided to go for it. The waiter took my order and brought it to the table. When I took my first bite, I was blown away by the flavors. The dish was incredibly tasty and exceeded my expectations. It was a culinary adventure that I thoroughly enjoyed.
After a tiring day, I decided to make myself a cup of tea. First, I boiled some water in a kettle until it reached a boiling point. Then, I put some tea leaves into a teapot. Once the water was boiling, I carefully poured it over the tea leaves, making sure they were fully immersed. I allowed the tea to steep for a few minutes, giving it time to release its flavors. Finally, I poured the freshly brewed tea into a cup, and as I took my first sip, I could feel the warm liquid soothing my body and helping me unwind. It was a simple yet effective way for me to relax and rejuvenate.
I visited a science museum and explored interactive exhibits about space, technology, and the environment. I learned interesting facts and conducted hands-on experiments. I saw models of rockets and learned about how they are launched into space. There was a display about renewable energy sources, such as solar panels and wind turbines. I also saw a replica of a dinosaur skeleton and learned about different species that lived millions of years ago. In the technology section, I got to try out virtual reality goggles and play interactive games. I also learned about how robots are used in various industries. It was a fun and educational experience.
I decided to go for a hike in a mountainous area. The trails were rocky and challenging, but I persevered and continued walking. As I hiked further up, I was rewarded with stunning views of the surrounding landscape. The scenery was truly breathtaking, with towering trees and beautiful wildflowers. The air felt fresher as I immersed myself in nature. I could hear the calming sounds of birds chirping and insects buzzing around me. It was a peaceful and relaxing experience. The hike also provided me with a sense of invigoration and energy. The physical exertion and connection with nature revitalized my body and mind. Overall, it was an enjoyable and rejuvenating adventure that I would highly recommend to others.
I decided to try cooking a new recipe from a cookbook. The recipe seemed interesting, and I thought it would be a fun challenge. I gathered all the ingredients listed in the recipe and followed the step-by-step instructions carefully. First, I chopped the vegetables and marinated the meat. Then, I heated the oil in a pan and added the ingredients one by one. The kitchen started to smell amazing as the dish cooked. Finally, after simmering for some time, the meal was ready. I served it to my family, and they were impressed with how delicious it tasted. It was a rewarding experience to see everyone enjoy the meal that I had prepared.
I have several houseplants that I take care of. One important thing I do is to water them regularly. I usually water them once a week, making sure the soil is moist but not overly wet. I also give them enough sunlight, as most houseplants need sunlight to grow and stay healthy. I place them near a window where they can get direct sunlight for a few hours every day. This helps them to thrive. Taking care of my houseplants is important to me because they bring life and beauty to my home.
When I go grocery shopping, I enjoy selecting fresh fruits and vegetables for a nutritious diet. At the store, there are many different types of fruits and vegetables to choose from. I like to look for bright colors and firm textures when selecting my produce. I also make sure to check for any bruises or blemishes on the fruits and vegetables. It's important to choose ones that are free from any signs of spoilage. I also like to check the expiration dates on packaged fruits and vegetables to ensure they are fresh. Once I have chosen the best fruits and vegetables, I put them in my cart and move on to the next item on my shopping list.
I recently decided to organize my closet. I started by sorting my clothes into different categories such as shirts, pants, dresses, and jackets. This made it easier for me to see what I had and find specific items when I needed them. After sorting, I neatly arranged each category in my closet. I hung my shirts and dresses on hangers and folded my pants and jackets on shelves. This not only made my closet look more organized, but it also made it easier for me to choose outfits each day. Now, getting dressed in the morning is much simpler and less time-consuming.
Cleaning my bathroom is an important task that I do regularly to keep everything tidy and germ-free. One of the things I need to clean is the toilet. I use a toilet brush and cleaner to scrub the inside of the toilet bowl, making sure to get rid of any stains or dirt. After that, I flush the toilet to rinse it clean. Next, I move on to the sink. I use a sponge and some cleaning solution to scrub the surface of the sink, removing any soap scum or toothpaste residue. I also make sure to clean the faucet and handles. Finally, I clean the bathtub. I use a scrub brush and some bathroom cleaner to remove any grime or mildew from the tub. I rinse it thoroughly with water to make sure it's clean and then wipe it dry with a towel. By cleaning my bathroom regularly and thoroughly, I can maintain a clean and healthy living environment.
I am setting the table for a special dinner party. I am using fancy china, silverware, and beautiful table decorations. The china is delicate and has intricate designs on it. The silverware is shiny and has a polished finish. I carefully place the plates, glasses, and silverware on the table in the correct positions. I arrange the napkins in elegant folds and place them on top of the plates. I also add a centerpiece to the table, which is a beautiful vase with fresh flowers. The table looks stunning and ready for the guests to arrive. I am excited to host this special dinner party and I hope everyone enjoys the ambiance I have created.
I recently hung a picture frame on the wall in my living room. I wanted to make sure it was straight and centered. I used a measuring tape to find the center of the wall and marked it with a pencil. Then, I measured the height of the frame and marked 2 points on the wall at the same height. Using a level, I made sure the marks were straight. I hammered a nail into each mark and hung the frame on the nails. I stepped back to check if it was straight and centered. I was happy with the result, and the picture frame now looks great on my wall.
Folding laundry is an important task in maintaining a tidy living space. It involves carefully folding clothes into neat and organized piles. Each item is smoothed out and folded in a specific way to maximize space and keep the clothes wrinkle-free. After folding, the clothes are then placed in their designated drawers and closets. This ensures that everything has its own place and makes getting dressed easier. It also helps to keep the room clutter-free and promotes a sense of order. Taking the time to fold and put away laundry is a simple yet effective way to keep the living area clean and functional.
I always make sure to change my bedsheets and pillowcases regularly to have fresh, clean bedding for a good night's sleep. When it's time to change them, I start by removing the old sheets and pillowcases from my bed. I then gather clean sheets and pillowcases from my linen closet. I like to choose ones that are soft and comfortable. Next, I carefully put the fitted sheet onto my mattress, ensuring it is securely tucked in. Then, I add the flat sheet on top, making sure it is evenly spread out. I also place a fresh pillowcase on each of my pillows. Once everything is in place, my bed looks neat and inviting. It feels great to crawl into bed at night knowing that I have fresh, clean bedding to sleep on.
Taking out the trash and recycling is an important task that I do regularly. I make sure to separate the different materials properly. I have different bins for different types of waste. I put food scraps in the compost bin because it can be used to make fertilizer. I put paper and cardboard in a separate bin because it can be recycled into new paper products. I also have a bin for plastic, glass, and metal containers which can all be recycled. It feels good to know that I am doing my part to help the environment by properly disposing of my waste.
I have been sorting through old magazines and newspapers lately, trying to declutter my space and recycle the ones that are no longer needed. It's interesting to see how the articles and advertisements have changed over the years. Some of the magazines are from decades ago, and it's like taking a trip back in time. I've come across fashion trends that are now considered outdated and news articles that were once significant but have now been forgotten. It's a nostalgic experience, but it also feels good to let go of things that are no longer useful. Recycling the old magazines and newspapers helps reduce waste and keeps the environment clean.
I enjoy cleaning the windows in my home. It helps to remove any dirt or smudges that have built up over time. Cleaning the windows also allows more sunlight to come into the room, which makes it feel brighter and more cheerful. I use a squeegee and a bucket of soapy water to clean the glass. I start by wetting the window with the soapy water and then use the squeegee to remove the dirt and water from the glass. I make sure to go over the window several times to ensure it is clean and streak-free. Once I finish cleaning all the windows, I like to stand back and admire the sparkling result. It's a small task, but it makes a big difference in the overall appearance of my home.
I sweep the floor to remove dust and dirt, keeping my house clean and tidy. I use a broom and a dustpan to sweep the floor. I start by moving furniture and objects away to create space. Then, I use long, sweeping motions to push the dirt towards one area. I gather the dirt into a pile using the broom and then carefully scoop it up with the dustpan. I make sure to sweep all corners and edges of the floor to ensure no dirt is left behind. Once I have finished sweeping, I dispose of the dirt in a dustbin or outside. Sweeping the floor helps maintain a clean and healthy living environment.
I enjoy washing my car to keep it fresh and clean. First, I gather all the necessary cleaning materials such as soap, water, sponge, and vacuum. Then, I start by scrubbing the exterior of the car with the sponge and soapy water, focusing on removing dirt and grime. After rinsing off the soap, I move on to the interior. I use the vacuum to clean the seats, floor mats, and carpets, ensuring that all the dust and debris are removed. Once both the exterior and interior are clean, I take a step back and admire my freshly washed car. It feels great to have a clean vehicle that looks good both on the outside and inside.
Taking care of my pets is an important part of my daily routine. I make sure to feed them every day and give them fresh water. It's important for them to have a balanced diet and stay hydrated. In addition to providing their basic needs, I also take them for walks to give them exercise and fresh air. Taking them for walks is a great opportunity for them to explore their surroundings and get some energy out. It's important to me that my pets are healthy and happy, so I always make sure to take good care of them.
One day, I noticed that the faucet in my kitchen was leaking. I decided to fix it myself. First, I turned off the water supply under the sink. Then, I took a screwdriver and tightened the screws on the faucet handle. Next, I unscrewed the faucet aerator and cleaned out any debris. Unfortunately, the leak didn't stop, so I knew I had to replace some parts. I removed the handle and found that the rubber washer was worn out. I went to the hardware store and bought a new washer. Back at home, I installed the new washer and reassembled the faucet. Finally, I turned the water supply back on and tested the faucet. The leak was gone, and my kitchen sink was back to normal.
I decided to give my living room a fresh look by rearranging the furniture and adding new cushions and curtains. I spent the day moving the sofa to a different wall and placing the armchair by the window. It was a bit tiring, but it made the room feel more spacious and open. After that, I went shopping for new cushions and curtains. I found some colorful ones that matched the color scheme of the room. When I got home, I carefully arranged the cushions on the sofa and added the curtains to the windows. The vibrant colors instantly brought life to the room and gave it a cozy atmosphere. I was happy with the new look and felt accomplished for transforming my living room into a more stylish and inviting space.
I am checking the expiration dates of food items in my pantry and disposing of any that are past their prime. I carefully examine each item and look for the date printed on the packaging. If the date has passed, I throw away the food item to ensure that I am only consuming fresh and safe products. I make sure to check all types of food, including canned goods, boxed items, and perishable items like dairy and meat. It is important to regularly check and discard expired food to maintain a healthy and safe pantry.
Ironing clothes is an important step in my daily routine. It helps me remove wrinkles and make my clothes look neat and presentable. I start by setting up my ironing board in a spacious area. Then, I plug in the iron and wait for it to heat up. Once it's ready, I lay the clothing item flat on the ironing board, making sure there are no creases. I start with the collar or neckline and slowly move the iron over it, applying slight pressure. Then, I move on to the sleeves, carefully working my way from the shoulder to the cuff. Next, I tackle the body of the garment, ironing it in sections to ensure an even finish. If there are any stubborn wrinkles, I give them a little extra attention. Lastly, I hang the freshly ironed clothes to prevent any new wrinkles from forming. Ironing my clothes not only makes them look better but also gives me a sense of satisfaction knowing that I am presenting myself in a neat and presentable manner.
I was cleaning my oven today. I noticed that there was a lot of food residue and grease inside. I knew that I needed to remove it to prevent smoke and unpleasant odors. So, I started by unplugging the oven and letting it cool down. Then, I took out the racks and placed them in a sink filled with soapy water. I used a damp cloth to wipe down the inside of the oven, making sure to remove any food particles and grease. I also used a scrub brush to scrub away any tough stains. Once the inside was clean, I rinsed off the racks and dried them before placing them back in the oven. Finally, I plugged the oven back in and turned it on to make sure everything was working properly. I was happy to see that my oven was clean and ready to use again.
I regularly clean the shelves and surfaces in my home to keep them free from dust and allergens. I take a soft cloth and gently wipe down each shelf, making sure to remove any visible dust. I also pay attention to the surfaces, such as tables and countertops, and give them a thorough dusting as well. It's important to me to keep these areas clean, as dust can accumulate quickly and cause allergies. By regularly dusting, I am able to maintain a clean and healthy living environment.
I recently noticed that some of the light bulbs in my home have burnt out. It is important for me to change these bulbs in order to ensure proper lighting in my living space. I gathered the necessary materials, including replacement light bulbs and a stepladder. I carefully climbed the ladder and unscrewed the burnt-out bulbs. I then inserted the new bulbs into the light fixtures and tightened them securely. I repeated this process for each burnt-out bulb in my home, ensuring that every room had adequate lighting. Now, my home feels bright and well lit, creating a comfortable and functional living environment.
I decided to change the color of one of the rooms in my house. The walls were previously white, but I wanted a fresh look. I chose a vibrant blue color from the paint store. I gathered all the necessary materials, including paintbrushes, rollers, and drop cloths. I started by removing all the furniture from the room and covering the floor with the drop cloths to protect it from any drips or spills. Then, I began painting, starting with the edges and corners of the walls using a small paintbrush. I made sure to paint in smooth, even strokes to ensure a clean finish. Once the edges were done, I switched to a roller and covered the larger areas of the walls. I made sure to load the roller evenly with paint and applied it in straight lines, working from top to bottom. After the first coat dried, I applied a second coat for a more polished look. I took care to clean any drips or spills immediately to avoid any damage to the floor or furniture. Finally, I allowed the paint to dry completely before moving the furniture back into the room. The new blue color transformed the room into a fresh, vibrant space that I was proud of.
I decided to install a ceiling fan in my bedroom to improve air circulation and keep the room cool. I bought a ceiling fan from a home improvement store and brought it home. I gathered all the necessary tools such as a ladder, screwdriver, and wire cutters. I carefully read the installation instructions that came with the fan. I turned off the power to the room at the circuit breaker before starting the installation. I climbed up the ladder and removed the old light fixture from the ceiling. I followed the instructions to attach the mounting bracket and secure it properly. Then, I connected the wires from the fan to the existing wires in the ceiling using wire connectors. I made sure all the connections were tight and secure. Next, I attached the fan blades to the motor housing, making sure they were balanced and level. I then turned the power back on at the circuit breaker to test the fan. It worked perfectly and I felt the cool breeze in the room. I was happy with the results and pleased that I was able to successfully install the ceiling fan on my own.
Maintaining a well-manicured garden requires mowing the lawn and trimming the hedges. Mowing the lawn involves using a lawnmower to cut the grass to a desired height. It is important to mow the lawn regularly to keep it looking neat and tidy. Trimming the hedges involves cutting off any overgrown or unruly branches to shape them nicely. A hedge trimmer is used to achieve this. Regularly trimming the hedges helps them maintain a neat appearance and promotes healthy growth. Both tasks require proper tools and some physical effort, but the result is a beautiful and well-tended garden.
I noticed that one of the chairs in my living room was broken. The screws were loose, causing the chair to wobble. I decided to fix it myself. First, I found a screwdriver and tightened all the loose screws. This made the chair more stable. However, I also noticed some cracks in the wood. To fix this, I applied some glue to the cracks and pressed them together until the glue dried. After the glue dried, the chair looked much better and felt sturdy again. I'm glad I was able to repair it myself.
I recently decided to organize my kitchen cabinets to make it easier for me to find everything I need while cooking. First, I sorted all my dishes into different categories such as plates, bowls, and glasses. Next, I organized my utensils, separating them into categories like forks, spoons, and knives. Lastly, I organized my cookware, placing pots and pans together in one area. By categorizing everything, I can now easily find what I need without wasting time searching through cluttered cabinets.
I usually wash dishes by hand. I fill the sink with warm soapy water and then I start by washing the glasses and cups first. I use a sponge to scrub them gently and then rinse them under running water. Next, I move on to the plates and bowls. I scrub off any food residue and rinse them as well. After that, I wash the silverware using a small brush to clean between the tines of the forks and the blades of the knives. Finally, I dry everything using a dish towel and put them away in the cabinet. Washing dishes by hand can be time-consuming, but it allows me to clean each item thoroughly.
I often find myself needing to clean the corners of my home to keep it clean and hygienic. Dust tends to accumulate in these hard-to-reach areas, so I regularly use a duster or a vacuum cleaner attachment to remove the cobwebs and dirt. Sometimes, I even have to use a step ladder to reach those high corners. Once I finish dusting, I feel a sense of accomplishment knowing that my home is now cleaner and free from any cobwebs. It may seem like a small task, but it is an important part of maintaining cleanliness and hygiene in my living space.
When I clean my living space, one of the tasks I do is vacuum the carpets and rugs. Vacuuming helps to remove dirt, debris, and pet hair from the floor, leaving it clean and free from allergens. I use a vacuum cleaner to suck up the dirt and dust from the carpets, and I make sure to go over the high traffic areas multiple times to ensure a thorough cleaning. It's important to empty the vacuum bag or canister regularly to maintain its efficiency. Vacuuming not only keeps the carpets and rugs looking clean, but it also helps to prolong their lifespan.
I recently had the task of assembling a piece of furniture. The instructions were provided and there were tools included to help with the process. I carefully followed the step-by-step instructions. The first step was to lay out all the pieces and identify them. Next, I used the provided tool to connect the pieces together. It required some strength and precision. After connecting all the pieces, I tightened the screws to make sure everything was secure. Finally, I stepped back and admired my finished piece of furniture. It was a satisfying feeling to have successfully assembled it by following the instructions and using the provided tools.
I recently decided to change my showerhead in order to improve the water pressure and enhance my showering experience. I found that the previous showerhead didn't provide enough water pressure, which made it difficult to thoroughly clean myself. After researching different options, I purchased a new showerhead that promised to increase water pressure and provide a more enjoyable shower. I installed the new showerhead by following the instructions provided, which involved removing the old showerhead and attaching the new one. Once I turned on the water, I immediately noticed a difference in the water pressure. The increased pressure allowed the water to flow more forcefully, making it easier to rinse off soap and shampoo. Overall, changing the showerhead has greatly improved my showering experience and I am now able to thoroughly clean myself without any difficulties.
I noticed that there was a leak in a pipe in my house. I could see water dripping from a connection point. I decided to fix it myself by tightening the connections. I used a wrench to tighten the nuts and make sure they were secure. Unfortunately, the leak didn't stop after tightening, so I realized that I needed to replace the damaged parts. I turned off the water supply and unscrewed the connection. I went to the hardware store to find a replacement part. The store assistant helped me find the right size and type of pipe fitting. I bought the new part and returned home. I applied plumber's tape to the threads of the new fitting to ensure a tight seal. Then, I screwed the new fitting onto the pipe and tightened it with a wrench. Finally, I turned the water supply back on and checked for any leaks. The pipe was no longer leaking, and I was relieved that I was able to fix it myself.
I noticed that the air in my house was feeling stuffy and dusty, so I decided to clean the air vents and filters. I used a damp cloth to wipe down the vent covers, removing any dust or debris that had collected on them. Then, I unscrewed the vent covers and vacuumed out any dust that had built up inside the vents. Next, I removed the filters from the air conditioning unit and washed them with warm, soapy water. I made sure to rinse them thoroughly and let them dry completely before putting them back in the unit. After cleaning the vents and filters, I noticed a significant improvement in the air quality in my house. The air felt fresher and cleaner, and I could breathe easier. Cleaning the air vents and filters is an important task to prevent dust accumulation and improve the overall air quality in your home.
I needed to mend a shirt or pants by sewing a button back onto it. The button had fallen off, so I needed to fix it to make the clothing usable again. I found the button that had fallen off and got a needle and thread. I threaded the needle with the thread and started sewing the button back onto the clothing. I made sure to sew the button securely so that it wouldn't fall off again. After sewing it on, I admired my handiwork and saw that the shirt or pants looked much better with the button restored. Now I can wear the clothing again without any issues.
I always make a shopping list before going to the grocery store. It helps me remember exactly what I need to buy and ensures that I don't forget anything. I usually start by checking what items I already have at home, so I don't buy unnecessary things. Then, I write down all the items I need, including food, drinks, and household items. I organize the list by sections, like fruits and vegetables, dairy products, meat, and pantry staples. This way, I can easily find everything in the store and save time. Sometimes, I also write down any special deals or discounts that I want to take advantage of. Once I'm at the store, I follow my shopping list carefully, crossing off each item as I add it to my cart. It feels satisfying to see the list getting shorter and knowing that I haven't missed anything. Making a shopping list has become a habit for me, and it helps me stay organized and focused while shopping.
I recently installed a new doorknob at home. I started by removing the old doorknob from the door. I unscrewed the screws and took off the cover plate. I then removed the latch mechanism by unscrewing the screws that held it in place. After removing the old doorknob, I attached the new knob securely. I followed the instructions that came with the new doorknob. I aligned the latch mechanism with the hole in the door and screwed it in place. Then, I attached the outer part of the doorknob by aligning it with the latch mechanism and screwing it in. Finally, I put the cover plate back on and tightened the screws. Now, I have a new doorknob installed and it works perfectly.
I enjoy spending time taking care of my garden. One of the tasks I do is weeding, which involves removing unwanted plants from my garden. By doing this, I create space for the desired plants to grow and thrive. Weeds can compete with the other plants for water, nutrients, and sunlight, so it's important to remove them regularly. I use a pair of gloves to protect my hands from thorns or prickly plants and a small shovel to dig out the weeds. I make sure to remove the entire weed, including its roots, so it doesn't come back. It can be a bit tiring, but it's satisfying to see my garden looking neat and healthy after the weeding is done.
In order to stay organized throughout the day, I write a to-do list to prioritize tasks. I start by writing down all the tasks that I need to complete. Then, I go through the list and decide which tasks are the most important and should be done first. I also consider any deadlines that I have for certain tasks. After prioritizing the tasks, I start working on them one by one. As I complete each task, I cross it off the list. This helps me stay focused and ensures that I don't forget anything. By the end of the day, I am able to see all the tasks that I have completed and feel a sense of accomplishment. Writing a to-do list has become an essential part of my daily routine and helps me stay organized and productive.
I decided to rearrange the furniture in my living room to make it more functional and visually appealing. I moved the sofa to the opposite wall and placed a coffee table in front of it. This created a cozy seating area for guests to sit and converse. I also moved the TV to the side wall so that it was easily visible from the sofa. On the other side of the room, I placed a bookshelf against the wall to organize my books and display some decorative items. Additionally, I moved the armchair to a corner near the window, creating a peaceful reading nook with natural light. Finally, I added some colorful throw pillows and a rug to enhance the overall look of the room. The new arrangement has made my living room more functional and visually appealing.
I recently installed curtain rods and hung curtains in my room to provide privacy and enhance the decor. I measured the windows to determine the length of the curtains I needed and bought the appropriate size. I used a drill to install the curtain rods on the wall above the windows. After securing the rods, I attached the curtain rings to the rods and slid the curtains onto the rings. I adjusted the curtains so that they hung evenly and reached the floor. The curtains not only offer privacy but also add a touch of elegance to the room.
I started cleaning the garage by decluttering and organizing my tools, equipment, and storage boxes. I sorted out the different tools, such as hammers, screwdrivers, and wrenches, into separate categories. I also arranged my equipment, like power tools and gardening tools, in a designated area. To maximize space, I neatly stacked storage boxes on shelves and labeled them according to their contents. Cleaning the garage helped me find things easily and create a more organized and efficient space.
I noticed that there was a problem with my roof. It was leaking and causing water to come inside my house. I wanted to fix it myself, so I started by trying to find the source of the leak. I climbed up onto the roof and carefully inspected it. After a while, I found a small hole where the water was coming in. I decided to use sealant to fix it. I applied the sealant all around the hole, making sure to cover it completely. I let it dry for a while before checking if the leak was fixed. Thankfully, the sealant worked and the leak stopped. I was relieved that I was able to repair the roof on my own and prevent any further damage to my house.
I have recently decided to rearrange the items in my kitchen pantry in order to improve their visibility and accessibility. This task required me to take out all of the items from the pantry and organize them in a more practical way. I started by grouping similar items together, such as canned goods or boxed foods. Then, I placed them back in the pantry, making sure that the most frequently used items were at eye level and easily reachable. I also utilized storage containers and labeled them to keep everything neat and tidy. Overall, this reorganization has made it much easier for me to find what I need while cooking and has resulted in a more efficient use of my pantry space.
I needed to protect my wooden fence from weather damage, so I decided to paint it. Painting the fence would also give it a fresh new look. First, I cleaned the fence by using a brush to remove any dirt and debris. Then, I sanded the surface to make it smooth. Next, I applied a primer to help the paint stick better. After the primer dried, I started painting the fence with a brush, making sure to cover the entire surface evenly. It took some time and effort, but the end result was worth it. My fence now looks brand new and it is well protected against the weather.
I have a fireplace in my home that I need to clean regularly to keep it functioning properly and looking nice. One of the tasks involved in cleaning the fireplace is removing the ashes and soot. It is important to do this because if the ashes and soot build up too much, it can affect the performance of the fireplace and cause it to not burn efficiently. To remove the ashes, I carefully scoop them out with a shovel and place them in a metal bucket. I make sure the ashes are completely cooled before disposing of them. After removing the ashes, I use a brush or vacuum to clean out any remaining soot from the fireplace walls and floor. This helps to keep the fireplace looking clean and prevents any buildup that can be difficult to remove later on. Regularly cleaning the fireplace and removing the ashes and soot is an essential part of maintaining its functionality and appearance.
I decided to organize my desk to improve my productivity. I started by arranging my stationery neatly in a drawer. I separated pens, pencils, highlighters, and markers into different compartments to easily find what I need. Next, I organized my files in a file holder, categorizing them by topic. This way, I can quickly access the documents I need without searching through a messy pile. To keep my desk clutter-free, I placed my computer accessories, such as cables and chargers, in a separate drawer. By keeping everything in its designated place, my desk looks tidy and it's easier for me to focus on my work.
I decided to wash the windows of my car because they were dirty and it was affecting my visibility while driving. I gathered all the supplies I needed, including a bucket, sponge, and window cleaner. I filled the bucket with water and added a small amount of the window cleaner. Then, I dipped the sponge into the soapy water and began scrubbing the windows, making sure to cover every inch. After scrubbing, I rinsed the windows with clean water from a hose, removing all the soap residue. I used a microfiber cloth to dry the windows, ensuring a streak-free finish. Once all the windows were dry, I noticed a significant improvement in visibility and my car looked sparkling clean.
When cleaning the blinds or curtains, I start by getting a soft cloth or feather duster. I carefully open the blinds or pull back the curtains so that I can reach all the surfaces. I gently wipe the cloth or duster along each slat or segment, making sure to remove all the dust. Sometimes I need to use a step ladder to reach the top parts. If the blinds or curtains are especially dirty, I may need to use a vacuum cleaner with a brush attachment. Once I have finished dusting, I close the blinds or pull the curtains back into place. This helps to keep them looking clean and fresh.
I noticed that the hinges on my doors and cabinets were making a loud noise whenever I opened or closed them. This noise was bothersome and sometimes woke up my family members. I decided to do something about it and looked up some solutions online. One suggestion I found was to grease or oil the hinges. I thought this sounded like a good idea, so I got some grease and applied it to the hinges. After greasing them, I noticed that the noise had significantly decreased. Now, when I open or close the doors and cabinets, they do not make as much noise and it is much more peaceful in my house. Additionally, the hinges seem to be working better and the doors and cabinets open and close smoothly. I am glad I took the time to grease the hinges as it has improved the functionality of my doors and cabinets and made my home more quiet and comfortable.
I recently organized my garage by grouping similar items together and using storage containers. I started by sorting through all the belongings in my garage and categorizing them into different groups. I separated tools from sporting equipment and household items from gardening supplies. Once everything was sorted, I placed each group of items into its own storage container. This not only made it easier to find things when I needed them, but it also helped create more space in the garage. Now, everything is neatly organized and easily accessible.
I noticed a problem with my drain. It was clogged and water wasn't flowing properly. I decided to fix it by using a plunger. I placed the plunger over the drain and pressed down firmly. Then, I pulled up quickly to create suction. I repeated this motion several times until I felt the clog loosen. After that, I ran water to check if the drain was clear, and it worked. The water flowed smoothly again. Another option to fix a clogged drain is by using a drain cleaner. I poured the cleaner down the drain, following the instructions on the bottle. I let it sit for a while to break down the clog. Then, I ran water to flush it out, and the drain was unclogged.
I started cleaning the kitchen after finishing my breakfast. First, I cleared all the dishes from the table and put them in the sink. Then, I filled the sink with soapy water and started washing the plates, cups, and utensils. After everything was clean, I dried them with a dish towel and placed them back in the cabinets. Next, I moved on to the countertops and wiped them down with a sponge and some all-purpose cleaner. I made sure to remove any crumbs or spills that were left behind. Finally, I cleaned the stove by removing the grates and scrubbing them with a brush. I also wiped down the stovetop and the front of the oven to remove any grease or stains. By the time I was done, the kitchen looked neat and tidy.
I decided to do laundry. I began by sorting my clothes into different piles based on their colors. I separated my whites, darks, and colors. After that, I put the first load into the washing machine and added detergent. I adjusted the settings and turned on the machine. While my clothes were being washed, I took the opportunity to clean the laundry area and fold some clothes from a previous load. Once the washing cycle finished, I transferred the wet clothes to the drying rack. I made sure to hang each item separately so that they would dry faster and without any wrinkles. Lastly, I checked the weather forecast to ensure that drying my clothes indoors would be the best option.
I decided to organize my closet to make it easier for me to find my clothes. First, I sorted my clothes into different categories such as shirts, pants, dresses, and jackets. Then, within each category, I arranged the clothes by color, starting with white and ending with black. This way, when I open my closet, I can quickly locate the type of clothing I want to wear and easily find the right color. It feels great to have a neat and organized closet that makes getting dressed in the morning much simpler.
I woke up one morning and went outside to tend to my garden. It was a sunny day, perfect for watering my plants. I grabbed a watering can and filled it with water from the hose. Carefully, I went from plant to plant, making sure each one received enough water. Some plants were bigger than others, so I had to adjust the amount of water I poured. It was important to water the roots of each plant, as that is what helps them grow. As I worked, I noticed how the soil around the plants became moist and dark, indicating that the water was being absorbed. It felt satisfying to see the plants getting the nourishment they needed. After watering all the plants, I put the watering can back in its place, knowing that I had done a good job in taking care of my garden.
I packed a basket with sandwiches, fruits, and drinks. I went to the park and found a nice spot to enjoy my picnic. I spread out a blanket and sat down to eat. The weather was nice and sunny. I could hear birds chirping and people laughing nearby. The sandwiches were delicious and the fruits were refreshing. I drank my favorite juice and enjoyed the beautiful surroundings. After finishing my meal, I relaxed on the blanket and watched people playing games. It was a peaceful and enjoyable afternoon in the park.
Going for a swim is a refreshing activity. When I decide to go for a swim, I make sure to put on my swimsuit. Next, I grab a towel to dry myself off afterwards. Once I'm ready, I eagerly jump into the pool to cool off. The water feels cool and rejuvenating as I swim around. Swimming is a great way to exercise and relax at the same time. It's a wonderful feeling to float on the water's surface and watch the ripples around me. I enjoy the sensation of gliding through the water, feeling weightless and free. Swimming is not only fun, but it also helps to keep me fit and healthy. After spending some time in the water, I start feeling refreshed and invigorated. It's the perfect way to beat the heat and enjoy the outdoors. Swimming is a simple yet enjoyable activity that brings me a lot of joy and satisfaction.
I finished my day and decided to take a shower. I entered the bathroom and took off all my clothes. Then, I stepped into the shower and turned on the water. As the water cascaded down on me, I grabbed the soap and started lathering up. I made sure to cover every part of my body with soap, paying extra attention to my face, arms, and legs. The warm water mixed with the soap created a soothing sensation on my skin. After thoroughly washing myself, I rinsed off all the soap and stood under the water for a few more moments, enjoying the refreshing feeling. Finally, I turned off the shower and reached for a towel to dry off. The shower had left me feeling clean and refreshed, ready to relax and unwind before going to bed.
I decided to invite some friends over to my house to play a board game. I took out the game and set up the board on the table. We were all excited to start playing. We chose our game pieces and began taking turns. Throughout the game, we had a lot of fun and laughed a lot. We each had our own strategies and tried to outsmart each other. The game had different challenges and obstacles that we had to overcome. As the game progressed, we all became more competitive and focused. We cheered and celebrated whenever someone achieved a goal or won a round. The game lasted for a while, but eventually, someone emerged as the winner. We all congratulated them and expressed our admiration for their skills. It was a great experience and we all had a wonderful time playing together.
I walked into a large building with many rooms and displays. There were different kinds of artwork and historical artifacts everywhere. I looked closely at the paintings on the walls and sculptures in the corners. They were all so detailed and beautiful. I read the descriptions next to each artwork to learn more about the artists and their techniques. I also saw ancient artifacts from different civilizations. It was interesting to see how people lived in the past and what they used in their daily lives. I spent a lot of time in the museum, exploring each room and taking my time to appreciate everything. I left feeling more knowledgeable about history and inspired by the creativity of the artists.
I decided to go for a hike, so I got ready by putting on my hiking boots. I packed a backpack with snacks and water to keep myself energized and hydrated during the hike. Then, I headed out to explore the nature trails. As I walked along the trails, I could see beautiful trees and flowers all around me. The fresh air and peaceful atmosphere made me feel calm and relaxed. Occasionally, I would stop to take pictures of the breathtaking views. On my way, I encountered various birds and animals, some of which I had never seen before. It was exciting to observe them in their natural habitat. As I continued hiking, I came across a small river. I took a moment to sit by the riverbank and enjoy the soothing sound of the flowing water. It was a refreshing break before I continued my journey. Overall, going for a hike was a fulfilling experience that allowed me to connect with nature and enjoy its wonders.
Baking cookies was a simple yet enjoyable process. First, I measured the ingredients while following a recipe. I carefully added flour, sugar, butter, and eggs into a mixing bowl. Using a wooden spoon, I mixed everything together until it formed a smooth dough. Once the dough was ready, I preheated the oven to the recommended temperature. I then shaped the dough into small balls and placed them on a baking sheet lined with parchment paper. Gently pressing each ball with a fork, I created a pattern on top of the cookies. With the oven now hot, I slid the baking sheet onto the middle rack and set the timer. Patiently waiting for the cookies to bake, I watched as they transformed into a beautiful golden brown color. Finally, the timer beeped, indicating that the cookies were done. I carefully removed them from the oven and allowed them to cool on a wire rack before tasting the delicious homemade treat.
I decided to try my hand at painting and express my creativity. I gathered a canvas and a set of paints. I carefully dipped my brush into the different colors and started to paint. As I moved the brush across the canvas, I could see the colors blending together to create a beautiful artwork. The more I painted, the more the picture came to life. I was amazed at how the strokes of the brush could bring so much beauty to the canvas. When I finished, I stepped back and admired my creation. It was a wonderful experience to see how I could turn a blank canvas into something vibrant and expressive.
Setting up a campfire was a fun experience for me. I gathered pieces of firewood from the surroundings, making sure to collect different sizes and types of wood. Once I had a good amount of firewood, I found a suitable spot to arrange it in a pit. I put the larger logs at the bottom and gradually added smaller pieces on top to create a steady base. With everything in place, I took out a match and struck it against the matchbox to light the fire. As the flame caught onto the wood, I watched in awe as the fire grew bigger and brighter. It felt cozy and comforting to sit around the campfire, enjoying the warmth and the crackling sound of burning wood.
I had a great time enjoying a barbecue. I grilled burgers and hot dogs on the grill. After they were cooked, I placed them on a platter and brought them to the picnic table. The table was set up with plates, napkins, and condiments. I sat down with friends and family and we all enjoyed a delicious meal together. The weather was nice, so we decided to eat outside. The food was flavorful and cooked to perfection. Everyone seemed to be enjoying themselves and the conversation flowed easily. It was a wonderful opportunity to relax and spend time with loved ones.
Planning a trip was exciting for me. I spent time researching different destinations, looking at pictures and reading about places to visit. Once I had decided on a destination, I booked my flights. I compared prices and chose the best option for me. Then, I searched for accommodations. I read reviews and checked the location before making a reservation. Finally, I packed my suitcase, making sure to bring clothes appropriate for the weather and activities I had planned. Planning a trip involved a lot of research and decision-making, but it was worth it for the anticipation of the adventure ahead.
During my time volunteering at a shelter, I had the opportunity to play with animals, clean their cages, and provide them with care. It was a rewarding experience to see the animals enjoying themselves while I engaged in playtime with them. I also took on the responsibility of cleaning their cages, ensuring a clean and comfortable environment for the animals. In addition, I provided care by feeding them and giving them the attention they needed. It was fulfilling to be able to contribute to the well-being of the animals and make a positive impact in their lives.
I enjoy gardening as a hobby. Today, I spent some time in my garden. I grabbed a shovel and started digging holes in the soil. I wanted to create space for the plants to grow. After that, I grabbed some seeds and carefully placed them in the holes. I made sure to follow the instructions on the seed packet for the proper spacing and depth. Once the seeds were in place, I used a watering can to give them a good drink of water. I wanted to ensure that they had enough moisture to germinate and grow. I will continue to water them regularly and give them the care they need to thrive. I am excited to see the progress as the plants start to grow and eventually bear fruits or flowers. Gardening brings me a lot of joy, and I find it rewarding to see the fruits of my labor.
I entered a large store with shelves filled with various items. I walked through the aisles and looked at the products on display. There were groceries, household items, and even clothing. I checked my shopping list to make sure I didn't forget anything. I reached for a box of cereal and put it in my cart. Then, I grabbed a bottle of shampoo from the shelf. I continued browsing and found a pack of batteries that I needed. As I made my way to the checkout, I noticed a display of cookies. I decided to add them to my purchases. At the checkout counter, I handed the items to the cashier, who scanned each one and placed them in bags. I paid with cash and received my change. Finally, I left the store with my bags of groceries and other items.
I wanted to stay fit, so I decided to exercise at home. I went to my living room and started with push-ups. I did as many as I could, trying to challenge myself. Then, I moved on to squats. I stood with my feet shoulder-width apart and slowly bent my knees, making sure to keep my back straight. I repeated this movement several times to work out my leg muscles. Finally, I did jumping jacks to get my heart rate up. I jumped up and spread my legs wide while clapping my hands above my head. I repeated this exercise multiple times. It felt good to exercise in the comfort of my own home, and I felt proud of myself for taking care of my fitness.
I wanted a refreshing and healthy drink, so I decided to make a smoothie. I gathered some fruits, yogurt, and ice. I put all the ingredients into a blender and turned it on. The blender mixed everything together, creating a smooth and creamy texture. The smoothie looked colorful and appetizing. I poured it into a glass and took a sip. The taste was delicious and satisfying. The smoothie was not only tasty but also nutritious. It was a simple and enjoyable process to make a homemade smoothie.
I decided to plant a tree, so I grabbed a shovel and went outside. I found a suitable spot in my backyard and began digging a hole in the ground. It took some effort, but eventually, I had a nice, deep hole. Next, I carefully took the sapling that I had bought and placed it inside the hole. I made sure to position it straight and upright. Once the sapling was in place, I started filling the hole with soil. I made sure to cover the roots completely and packed the soil gently around the base of the tree. Finally, I gave the tree a good watering to help it settle in its new home. I was excited to have planted a tree and looked forward to watching it grow in the future.
I arranged plates, glasses, and utensils on the table in preparation for a meal. I placed a plate in front of each chair, making sure they were in the center of the placement. Next, I positioned a glass on the right-hand side of each plate. I then neatly folded a napkin and placed it on top of the plate. Moving on to the utensils, I laid a fork on the left side of the plate with the tines facing upwards. Next to the fork, I positioned a knife with the blade facing inward and a spoon to the right of the knife. Lastly, I added a small side plate for bread or salad on the left side of the main plate. The table was now set and ready for the upcoming meal.
I recently hosted a dinner party at my home. I prepared a delicious meal for my guests. The menu included a variety of dishes such as appetizers, main courses, and desserts. I took my time to cook each dish with care and attention to detail. Once the food was ready, I set the table with plates, cutlery, and glasses. I made sure everything was clean and organized before my guests arrived. As they entered my home, I warmly welcomed them and showed them to their seats. Throughout the evening, we enjoyed good conversation and laughter, while indulging in the tasty food I had prepared. It was a delightful evening spent with friends, sharing a delicious meal together.
I put on a helmet, hopped on my bike, and pedaled along scenic trails. The weather was sunny and warm, perfect for a bike ride. As I rode, I could feel the wind against my face and the warmth of the sun on my skin. The trails were surrounded by beautiful trees and colorful flowers. I passed by a peaceful lake, where I saw ducks swimming and families having picnics. Along the way, I encountered other people who were also enjoying their bike rides or walking their dogs. It was nice to see everyone outdoors, enjoying nature and being active. I continued pedaling, feeling the burn in my legs but also the excitement of exploring new paths. As I reached a hill, I shifted gears and pushed myself to conquer it. The view at the top was breathtaking, with panoramic vistas of the surrounding countryside. I took a moment to catch my breath and admire the scenery before continuing on my bike ride. It was a refreshing and invigorating experience, a great way to spend the day and stay active.
Starting a new hobby can be exciting and rewarding. Recently, I decided to try something different and learn a new skill. To get started, I gathered all the necessary supplies. I made a list of what I needed and went to the store to purchase them. Next, I searched online for tutorial videos to help me learn the basics. There were so many options, but I found a few that suited my learning style. Once I had everything I needed and watched the tutorials, I was ready to begin. It was challenging at first, but with practice and patience, I started to improve. Learning a new skill is a great way to challenge yourself and expand your horizons.
For my birthday celebration, I sent out invitations to my friends. I wanted to make sure everyone knew about the party. I even made sure to include the date, time, and location on the invitations. Once all the invitations were sent, I ordered a cake. I wanted a delicious cake that everyone would enjoy. I chose a flavor that I knew most people liked. Along with the cake, I also ordered some decorations to make the party more festive. Lastly, I organized games for the party. I wanted everyone to have a good time and be entertained. I made sure to choose games that were suitable for everyone to participate in. Overall, I planned everything carefully to ensure that my birthday celebration would be a fun and memorable event.
I noticed that my faucet was leaking, so I decided to fix it myself. First, I turned off the water supply to the faucet. Then, I carefully took apart the faucet to identify the faulty parts. I found that a washer and an O-ring needed to be replaced. I went to the hardware store to buy the new parts and returned home to install them. I made sure to follow the instructions carefully to ensure correct installation. Once the new parts were in place, I reassembled the faucet. To test my repair, I turned the water supply back on and checked for any leaks. Fortunately, there were no more leaks, and the faucet was working properly again. I was relieved that I was able to fix the problem myself and save money on a plumber.
I had a loose button on my shirt, so I decided to sew it back on. I threaded a needle with a piece of thread and made sure it was securely tied at one end. Then, I carefully inserted the needle through one of the buttonholes and pulled it through to the other side. I repeated this process several times to ensure that the button was firmly attached to the fabric. Once I was satisfied with the stitching, I tied a knot at the back of the fabric to secure the thread and cut off any excess. Now my button is securely attached to my shirt, and I can wear it without worrying about it falling off.
I decided to make a salad for dinner tonight. First, I went to the grocery store to buy fresh vegetables. I chose lettuce, tomatoes, cucumbers, and carrots. Once I got home, I washed all the vegetables thoroughly in the sink. Then, I chopped the lettuce into small pieces and sliced the tomatoes and cucumbers. I also peeled and grated the carrots. After preparing all the vegetables, I grabbed a big bowl and tossed them all together. Finally, I made a simple vinaigrette dressing using olive oil, vinegar, and salt and poured it over the salad.
Today, I took care of my pet. First, I fed my dog. I poured some dog food into its bowl and made sure it had enough water to drink. After that, I took my dog for a walk. We went outside and explored the neighborhood together. My dog was very excited and wagged its tail happily. Finally, I cleaned my dog's living area. I removed any dirt or waste and made sure it was clean and comfortable for my dog. I want my pet to be happy and healthy, so taking care of it is important to me.
Doing yoga is a part of my daily routine. Today, I rolled out my mat and started my practice. I began with some warm-up exercises to stretch my muscles. After that, I practiced different poses like downward-facing dog, warrior pose, and tree pose. I focused on my breathing, inhaling deeply and exhaling slowly. It helped me to relax and center my mind. I held each pose for a few seconds before moving on to the next one. I could feel my body getting stronger and more flexible with each pose. As I continued my practice, I felt a sense of calm and peace. After about 30 minutes, I finished my yoga session and rolled up my mat. I felt refreshed and energized, ready to take on the rest of the day.
I recently decided to try my hand at photography. I took out my camera and started exploring my surroundings for interesting subjects to capture. As I wandered around, I stumbled upon some breathtaking moments that I wanted to preserve forever. I found a colorful flower in a nearby garden and took a close-up shot of its delicate petals. Afterwards, I spotted a mother duck leading her ducklings across a pond and managed to capture their adorable journey. Walking further, I came across a stunning sunset and quickly adjusted my camera settings to capture the vibrant colors. It was a wonderful experience, and I can't wait to develop my pictures and relive those beautiful moments.
I recently decided to go through my wardrobe to declutter and get rid of clothes that I no longer wear or need. I sorted through all my clothes, keeping the ones that I still enjoy wearing and putting aside the ones that I no longer wanted. Once I had a pile of unwanted clothes, I packed them up and took them to a donation center. The donation center was a place where people could drop off their unwanted clothes, and the clothes would be given to those in need. I felt good about donating my clothes because I knew that someone else would be able to use them and benefit from them. It was a simple process of sorting through my wardrobe, gathering the clothes, and dropping them off at the donation center.
I enjoy going for a walk. I always wear comfortable shoes for my walks. Today, I put on my shoes, stepped outside, and walked around my neighborhood. It's a nice way to get some fresh air and see what's happening around me. As I walked, I noticed the different houses and gardens. Some houses had colorful flowers in their front yards, while others had neatly trimmed hedges. I also saw people walking their dogs or riding their bicycles. It's interesting to observe the different activities happening in the neighborhood. Sometimes, I even see my neighbors and we exchange friendly greetings. Walking is a simple activity, but it brings me joy and helps me stay healthy.
During the holiday season, I decided to decorate my home with festive decorations. First, I hung colorful lights on the exterior of my house to create a cheerful atmosphere. Next, I carefully placed shiny ornaments on the tree branches, making sure they were evenly spaced. The Christmas tree served as the focal point of my living room, bringing joy to the space. Additionally, I added festive touches throughout my home, such as placing holiday-themed candles on the mantel and hanging wreaths on the doors. These decorations transformed my home into a cozy and inviting space, ready to celebrate the holiday season.
Crafting a DIY project can be a fun and fulfilling experience. I recently decided to try my hand at creating something unique. To start, I gathered all the materials needed for the project. I carefully read through the instructions to make sure I understood each step. Then, I began to follow the instructions step by step. I measured and cut the materials as instructed and used adhesive to hold everything together. It took some time and patience, but slowly the project started to take shape. Finally, after completing all the steps, I had successfully created a one-of-a-kind item. It was exciting to see my hard work pay off and to have something that I made with my own hands.
I decided to go fishing one day. I packed my fishing rod, baited the hook with a worm, and casted the line into the water. I waited patiently, hoping for a catch. The sun was shining brightly, and the water was calm. As I sat on the edge of the boat, I enjoyed the peacefulness of the surroundings. Suddenly, I felt a tug on the line. I quickly reeled it in and saw a small fish at the end. I was excited to have caught something. I carefully unhooked the fish and released it back into the water. Although it was just a small catch, I felt satisfied with my fishing experience. I continued to cast my line, hoping for more luck.
I wanted to have a cup of tea, so I went to the kitchen. First, I filled a kettle with water and put it on the stove. I turned on the heat and waited for the water to boil. Once the water was boiling, I took out a tea bag from the cupboard and placed it in a cup. Then, I poured the boiling water into the cup, covering the tea bag. I let it steep for a few minutes to allow the flavors to develop. After that, I took out the tea bag and gave it a gentle squeeze to extract the remaining liquid. Finally, I sat down, took a sip, and enjoyed the soothing and aromatic beverage.
Building a birdhouse was a fun and rewarding project. I started by measuring and cutting pieces of wood to the right sizes. Then, I used nails to connect the pieces together and make a sturdy structure. I was careful to create a small entrance hole for the birds to enter and a cozy space inside for them to nest. Finally, I painted the birdhouse with bright colors to make it attractive to the birds. It was satisfying to see the finished product and know that I had created a comfortable home for birds to enjoy.
Helping a friend move is a tiring but fulfilling task. I had to lift heavy boxes and carry them to a moving truck. The boxes were filled with different items like clothes, kitchenware, and books. It was a challenge to move them because they were quite heavy. Once the boxes were in the truck, I helped secure them properly so they wouldn't fall during the relocation. We made sure to arrange them in a way that would maximize the space and prevent any damage. It was a long and exhausting day, but knowing that I was able to assist my friend made it all worth it.
I found a comfortable spot on a hill overlooking a calm ocean. I sat down and looked towards the horizon. The sky was painted with vibrant hues of orange, pink, and purple as the sun set slowly. The colors blended together, creating a beautiful sight. The sun, a bright ball of light, gradually descended below the horizon, casting a golden glow over the water. The scene was peaceful, and I felt a sense of tranquility wash over me. I admired the beauty of nature and the peacefulness of the moment as the sky transformed from daylight into dusk.
When I went to the beach, I brought along a towel to lay on and some sunscreen to protect my skin from the sun. As I walked along the sandy shore, I could feel the grains of sand under my feet. The beach was crowded with people playing volleyball, building sandcastles, and enjoying picnics. The sound of seagulls filled the air as they flew above, searching for food. The waves crashed onto the shore, creating small bubbles and a calming sound. I decided to cool off and dipped my toes in the water. It was refreshing and slightly cold, but it felt good on a hot day. I watched as families and friends splashed in the waves, laughing and having fun. The beach was a lively place, filled with laughter, sunshine, and the joy of being surrounded by nature.